Hello again, this is Nigel from Mad About Animals. In this video, I'd like to talk about a thought experiment that I came across recently. It's called the original position, but you may have heard of it as the veil of ignorance. It was a thought experiment first posited by a philosopher called John Rawls in 1971. Essentially, he asks you to describe your ideal society with all the rules and morals that you think are important. So basically, it's your ideal world. You design it exactly as you see fit. So it fits in with your worldview, how you think things should be. Capitalist, socialist, whatever. You choose, and that is the world that suddenly pops into being, suddenly pops into existence. That is your world. Now, everyone will have different views on what is an ideal world, I'm sure. There'll be a lot of similarities, but there'll be some differences as well. But let's just talk about your personal ideal world. That's what it will be. But the only snag with this is that you are placed into this ideal world randomly as a random person. So if you set up a world where there was rich people and there were poor people, you might be a poor person. Your ideal world was a world where white people were superior to black people or women were inferior to men. You might be a woman, you might be a black person. So your ideal world suddenly wouldn't seem quite so ideal then, would it? So knowing this, generally people pick worlds that are quite level, quite fair, and don't discriminate between people based on their race, creed, colour, sexuality, or all those sorts of things. It's a little bit like the scenario that you may have had if you're a parent with young children. Say there's a cake or a biscuit or something that needs dividing between two of them. You can say to one of them, well, you cut the cake, but the other person gets first choice. And that way, the person cutting the cake will cut the cake fairly evenly because they know that they're going to get the smallest piece. Very similar sort of scenario. What I like to do is to carry this thought experiment a little bit further and say that you're not placed into this thought experiment as an individual person randomly, but you might also be put into this ideal world as an animal. You might be put into this ideal world as a pig or a sheep or a cow or a chicken or a goat or a turkey or a goldfish or a horse or a dog or a cat. You get the idea. So in your ideal world, are you kind to animals? Do you eat animals? Do you hunt animals? Do you ride animals? In your ideal world, are there animals in zoos and circuses? Are there service dogs? Are there animals that we use in any way, shape, or form? Because you know what? When you're placed into the ideal society, you might be one of those animals. Suddenly, humane slaughter might not sound so humane in the ideal world, in your chosen ideal world. When I'm doing street activism, I quite often talk to religious people who believe that animals are placed on the earth for us, that their God put animals there for us to exploit. I also sometimes talk to people who are philosophers, and they say, well, it's not against my morals to abuse animals because morality is subjective. Now, I happen to agree with them that morality is subjective. When I'm talking to these people, whether it be religious people who believe that animals are there for us or people that believe that it's not against their morals because their morals are subjective, it's quite a good idea to posit this thought experiment to them. You chose the ideal society. Your God, who effectively is the creator of the original position, would your God really want you in a world where the creations of that God are abused in the way that we abuse animals? Just an interesting way of approaching that sort of thing if you ever get in those sorts of conversation when doing street activism. We need to be vegan because by any moral standard, veganism is the only way. I've been Nigel from Mad About Animals. If you've enjoyed this or found it informative, please like, share and subscribe and watch out for the next video. Thank you.